Welcome, welcome all of you, all my dear friends. Vikas ji, the president of IBG, Ashok ji, president of the Redco West. We have got Viva Krishna, a well-known lawyer who will give us the legal perspective on RERA. Ram Prasad Padi, again an expert as a realtor, but on RERA he has done a lot of work. He was part of the committee when RERA was being formed from NAR India, which represents the broking community on pan-India basis. We have Ajay Khan Truria, again, and stalwart with a lot of experience in real estate. And he will be giving us the consumer and the buyer's perspective. We have Dr. Advocate Harshul Savla, who is an expert in writing books. I don't know how many, 8, 9, 10 books he's written. He's written a book on RERA. So it's a privilege and a pleasure that he's going to be moderating the session. We have Priya Pansare, who is the CEO of the IBG. And I would like to just introduce my committee members. The real estate vertical, we've got Meenal and we've got Tahir, who is an architect. This event is being live streamed on Facebook. So if you have a chance, you can just share it within your friend circle. So with this, I would now request and invite Vikas ji to please formally welcome all of us. Sir.
Thank you, Sangeet. Sangeet ji, अब आपको जी बोलना पड़ेगा.
नहीं sir, please.
First, I want to acknowledge Sangeet. I have seen the build-up to today's program, and the way he has worked has amazed me. He has brought the real estate vertical right on top amongst our 10 verticals. And I really wish, and Priya, I wanted to do this, all vertical heads should be informed of what has happened here and how Sangeet has worked. I wish all of them would do the same thing. Not that they are bad, but this is really remarkable. Thank you, Sangeet. The other thing I want to mention, and that is about RERA itself. So I am not an expert. I have been a small-time builder in my own time, and I know what RERA is done and what it's going to do for the industry. It is really going to streamline it. It's already done that. A lot of the bad practices will be out or are already out. So I really wish the industry great. I wish the industry players who are here. I'm really happy to see the top-level people joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Vikaji. I would now like to invite Priya Pansare, the CEO of IBG, to formally introduce the India Business Group to all of us. Priya.
Thank you, Sangeet. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. Today, we are presenting Real Estate Brick Talks 2.0, presented by our esteemed panelists. Just to give you a small introduction of what IBG is, we are a modern non-profit chamber of commerce focused on mentoring and supporting Indian businesses to help them grow into global corporations. We are the first chamber of commerce focused on helping companies grow cross-border trade and investments across 50 metro regions in 195 countries around the world. We have a network of around 80,000 associates with over 1,000 active members, and we keep organizing sector-specific events for their members pertaining to sectors like real estate, as you're seeing today, film and entertainment, IT, finance, banking, healthcare, tourism, legal, HR, manufacturing, and retail. So thank you everyone for joining us today. And without any further ado, we will turn the time over to a very important committee member, Mr. Sangeet Kumar, without whom the show wouldn't have been possible today. Thank you, Sangeet. Over to you.
Thank you very much. I will now like to invite Meenal Sinha, again a friend and the colleague of mine. She's going to talk about the IBG real estate vertical. Meenal, floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Sangeet, and thank you for all the kind words always. Welcome again, everyone. Like Sangeet said, I'm Meenal Sinha. I'm one of the executive committee members of the IBG real estate vertical. And I would like to give you a brief insight into the vision with which this vertical was formed. Siddhi, can I? Siddhi?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. While Siddhi is sharing this, so in the IBG vertical, we have the committee headed by Mr. Ajoy Kontruya, who is in fact one of the panelists as well today. We of course have Mr. Sangeet Hemant Kumar, who is like this rock solid pillar behind all our efforts and inviting all you panelists here today. We have me and we have Tahir. Can we skip forward to the committee slides? Yeah, we've covered IBG introduction. So yes, and we have Mr. Tahir, who is an architect and he heads his company, Effusion Designs Private Limited. Sangeet, aap kar rahe ho, to next slide kar do, please. Yeah. So IBG, I said, so the charter of IBG real estate vertical is very clear. We are here to promote the interest of the end consumers and take various industry issues as a body to the government and focus on hardcore focus on the bottom line of delivering value to our members. So what are the various things, activities that we do? First of all, we are fostering collaboration amongst all the members of not only the real estate industry, but also all the related industries. We have a lot of sector specific meetings with not only within the chamber, but other state chambers, other countries' chambers. We invite business from other chambers, other countries' chambers, and introduce our members to them. And of course, we do introduction to top industry leaders and webinars like today, which is our, the webinars are titled IBGRE Brick Talks, and today is the 2.0 version. We also get special offers from related industries so that, the entire real estate industry with development or, property consultants, everybody's needs are taken care of. And we do tie-ups with other industry events. We are looking at doing an annual real estate event. And of course, we have monthly member meetings within our own real estate vertical. For the launch of real estate vertical, we had the guest of honor, Mr. Sumit Anand, who's got more than almost 3 decades of experience in corporate real estate. And in his last position, he was heading facilities, global facilities for Genpact. We also had Mr. Devan Moza, who's the executive director, project management with Knight Frank. And the first webinar, Brick Talks 1.0 that we had none other than Mr. Anuj Puri, Mr. Sanjay Dutt, Anarock and Tata Realty, respectively, Mr. Swamijit Roy of Imoha Elder Care, and Mr. Samir Jasuja, founder and CEO of Prop Equity. It was a huge success, as we can see from the next slide, where we have the images from the webinar. And of course, the moderator was again our own favorite, Dr. Advocate Harshul Sabla. We also had another webinar with Mr. Anuj Puri earlier on. And we also take, like I said, that, we introduce our members to the various industry heads. We've had meetings with Mr. Niranjan Hiranandani and other industry stalwarts where we focus on these things.
Yeah.
That's about us. All I would say is all you members and all the participants who are not already members, Girish and Siddhi will be posting the details. We have a very special offer for the attendees of today's webinar. You're getting a flat 25% discount on the membership. So please do look up the details and get in touch with the IBG team. And before I start with the introduction of our esteemed panelists, I would just request all the audience to be on mute. Put your questions for the benefit of Harshul in the chat box, and he will try and take as many questions as possible. And in fact, he promises to make it a more interactive session. Now, welcoming the panelists. Our first panelist for the day is Mr. Ashok Mohanani, the chairman, Ekta World, and president, Naredco West. He's a lawyer by qualification, and he set up Ekta Group in 1987 with modest projects, and it has grown leaps and bounds over the last 3 decades. Famed for its thoughtful planning, marvelous architecture, and excellent execution, the group's success stories are multi-city, expanding over 20.08 million square feet of constructed and under construction projects. They've done housing over 14,500 plus happy families and more than 94 plus projects across Mumbai, Pune, Nashik, and Virar. And the company has been growing strength to strength. And the group has built choicest residential complexes in the western suburbs between Bandra and Dahisar in Mumbai. the upmarket NIBM Road at Pune, and a global residential township near the heritage site of Pandavleni at Nashik. Mr. Mohanani is versatility personified. He's a sportsman and has played pickleball in the international arena, and in fact is currently on the board as director, and in the past has been the chairman of the All India Pickleball Association. He is also an avid singer, a philanthropist, and he continues to be an active member of Lions Club International for the last 27 years. Currently, he is there in an advisory role. Apart from this, he's also the trustee and founder member of Shraddha Rehabilitation Center that works towards the upliftment of roadside destitutes, schizophrenics, etc. That is great. And as we were just saying, the achievements of this panel are way, way beyond our imagination. Also, welcome on board, Mr. Mohanani. Our next panelist is Mr. Ram Prasad, who's the founder and CEO of Mumbai Properties, realtor, consultant, CEO, a die-hard superbiker, a dedicated father and husband. Ram Prasad Padhi answers to all these titles with great aplomb and enthusiasm. For someone whose first real estate deal happened while he was only 18 years old, oh my God. Ram Prasad has certainly come a long way, nurturing his passion for real estate consultancy along the way. After completing his MBA in marketing and a degree in law, he launched Pinnacle Realty way back in 1994, when the real estate business did not garner much respect. I think all of us from the industry do understand that. And however, his passion and single-minded focus were to create a niche area for himself and enhance the industry standards. And it was with this dedication, coupled with a keen understanding of modern technology, that he launched the first real estate website in 1999. His flagship brand website, which is mumbaiproperties.com, went online in 2002. And he's always tried to create a customer-centric real estate consultancy business and has successfully assimilated values like integrity, honesty, commitment, and ethics. In 1997, he also became the founder member of AREA, which is the Association of Real Estate Agents in Mumbai. And he has in fact held leadership roles there and was the president from 2016 to 2018. He's a passionate real estate trainer as well, and he trains realtors in marketing, business development, entrepreneurship, and PR. And I think I identify with this. He believes that if you stop learning, you stop living. Oh my God. And he's also now a part of the Global Happiness Committee of the prestigious Della Leaders Club, which is a global platform. Welcome, Ram.
Thank you so much.
And I really think I will fix individual meetings with each one of you and sit at your feet and learn some about the industry. Our next panelist is Mr. Vibhav Krishna. Vibhav is a lawyer practicing since Jan 1994, having qualified as an advocate and admitted as a member of the Bar and Bar Council of Maharashtra and Goa. He's a permanent member of the Bombay Bar Association, and he began his practice in Mumbai with the law firm Law Charter, and thereafter practiced through the law firm Apex Juris between 1995 and 2002. He specializes in civil and criminal litigation, both on the original and appellate side of the High Court at Mumbai, the Supreme Court of India, and courts in other states in India, besides having considerable experience and expertise in real estate and property, corporate and commercial law, media and entertainment law, capital market and criminal law, and criminal law cases, especially economic offenses. In the year 2002, the law firm Juris Consulis was established, and Vibhav has been instrumental in forming a team of qualified lawyers trained in various areas of practices of the firm. And he's been an integral part of the firm since inception and leads a team of experienced and expert lawyers. He also serves as a legal advisor and counsels several multinational, national, and local corporations, financial institutions, banks, and various companies. Welcome, Vibhav. Welcome on board. And our next panelist is none other than our very own Mr. Ajoy Kandruya. As we said, he heads the executive committee of the IBG Real Estate Vertical. He has a degree in Bachelor of Science and has done his MBA at the University of Wisconsin, USA. He's otherwise the chairman of Allstate Group and has over 35 years of experience in varied industries like refrigeration equipment, electrical transformers, software development, sports and leisure equipment, film production, and of course, real estate. His group companies have several agreements with international leaders in their respective fields, and he actually pioneered 10-pin bowling in India And besides founding India's larger water sports center, H2O. I think even I'm learning about Mr. Ruya today. Currently, Mr. Ruya is also the vice chairman of the World Trade Center, Mumbai, managing committee member of IMCC, president Indo-Vietnamese Chamber of Commerce, secretary Property Owners Association, vice president Maharashtra Ten-Pin Bowling Association, honorary treasurer, Federation of Accommodation and Industry. And as we said, he's also a board member, India Business Group, and vice chairman of the real estate division. Welcome, Mr. Ruya.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And last but not the least, the moderator for the session, Dr. Advocate Harshul Savla, co-founder MRealty and research convener CREDAI MCHI. He is another distinguished IBG member. Harshul is a principal partner of MRealty Suvidha Life Spaces, which has successfully completed more than 1.2 million square feet of real estate development in the last 30 years across Mumbai city. CRISIL India recognized Harshul as young thought leader, and Realty Next featured him as Young Turk of real estate sector. He's won the prestigious CREDAI MCHI Golden Pillar Award in the category of Best Debutant Real Estate Developer and has been awarded Young Achiever of the Year by ET Now, CNN News, 18, Zee Business, Maharashtra Times. Oh my God, the list doesn't end. So without further ado, welcome Harshul, and over to you to kickstart the panel discussion on era post-RERA. We've all been waiting for it. Please do take over.
Thank you, Meenal. Thank you, Sangeet, for those kind introduction and setting the tone for today's conclave. Era post-RERA. I think this is a topic for every real estate stakeholder, which has been extremely close. It all started 4 or 5 years back when Real Estate Regulation and Development Act came into effect. Maharashtra was the pioneer with regards to RERA, which set to organize the entire real estate sector, bring in a lot more discipline and bring in a lot more transparency and information into a sector which otherwise was fairly opaque in terms of information sharing. I have an esteemed set of panel with me in the form of developer Ashok Ji. We have a lawyer, a counsel. We also have a senior real estate marketeer, and we also have from the Owners Association. So we have a multi-stakeholder analysis approach, which we'll be doing in today. Quickly, I'll get into the first question. And over to you, Ashok Ji. From a developer's perspective, how would you put up the era post-RERA in 1 or 2 sentences as a developer?
Yeah, so good evening, everybody. Good evening, Harshul. The most important, transformation has been that there is huge transparency. The market has matured tremendously. The perception issue has also had a paradigm shift. Developers earlier were not looked at with great respect, to be very honest. But now it's a level playing field for all developers. The buyer is most protected under RERA. This, I feel, Harshul, is is the bottom line, is what really matters most for any industry to grow. Though, of course, real estate has still not been acknowledged as an industry, but we are hopeful that with this new enactment since 2016, we will go a very long way to ensure that this industry is absolutely process-driven as well as looked at with great esteem. Thank you.
Absolutely, Ashok Ji, very valid point. Despite contributing close to 6-7% of the GDP and being the second largest employer and working closely with 250 plus industries, it's a long ask for in terms of the industry status. However, moving ahead with Vibhav Ji, you coming in from the legal side of things, there are already dozens of laws which were there, and what is your experience with RERA? Is it just another law for a consumer? Is it helpful? Or how has the dynamics changed from a consumer perspective, a home buyer perspective, when it comes to RERA? Over to you, Vibhavji.
See, thank you, Harshul. First and foremost, we need to understand that law is always an evolving process. Law is not something which you can confine only on the basis of what is a promulgated law, act, sections, etc. It is always contemporaneous. Situation changes, something is brought to the notice of the court, and the courts have the discretion to be able to adopt that law to that contemporaneous situation. Why I'm saying this is that RERA has a background before it came in. We had a situation where everything, the moment it was a building sector, all the practices which you want to associate as malpractices were present. And as lawyers also, we had a responsibility, depending on which side you were. If you were representing the builder, your job was always to protect him, whatever he did. I'm fortunate to be defending a lot of builders. Therefore, I'm in a position to talk on their behalf. If you were a consumer, then you knew you had an uphill task. And if you are a consumer's lawyer, even worse. In this background, you have to look at RERA. And in this background, you have to look at what it has achieved. A lot of people ask this question that how effective is RERA? And a lot of people ask this question that even if you have RERA and even if there are orders of RERA, how good are they? How do you implement them? This is where it becomes very important. That you're not expecting RERA to be doing everything else which the other laws or the other existing laws could not achieve. You are required to look at that what has RERA in fact achieved, along with your other remedies available. So therefore, first part which is important is that RERA is a coexistence with what is already an existing law. And I answer that very specifically because number of times a question is put that, look, there is an order of refund or there is an order in favor of a consumer. Is it only a paper decree? Is it only an order which is incapable of being executed? Don't find fault with RERA. The orders are existent, but the implementation is twofold. Implementation is one, by the RERA mechanism, and two, beyond the RERA mechanism. If I were to take an example of the collector implementing the orders of execution of RERA in terms of dues which are there, the analogous provisions, I had a discussion with my colleague Sachin Karya today, and I was asking him, and I was in fact saying that I'm going to be talking, help me with this. So analogous provision that whenever you have in areas of your recovery is on the basis of areas of land revenue. That is something which is available to you in other laws, which is also available to you here. So therefore, what is available to you elsewhere is being included here. In addition, there is a provision in RERA, and that's something which MahaRERA is implementing, that if your order is not being implemented after a certain number of days, you are only required to write to them and say, look, this is an order which exists. This is an order which has not been implemented. Help me. I'm saying this with a reason. I'm saying this with the reason to be telling all my viewers that look, the orders which you have, because you are customers, they are not paper decrees. They are available to you. All that you need to do is write to the authority and say, there is an order in my favor. There is no challenge to this order which is pending. I need the benefit. In addition to that, there are a set of writ petitions which have been filed in High Court Bombay, where they have talked about this aspect. They are still pending, so therefore I'm not taking the names. But the proposition which they have raised is the same. That what happens when I have an order in my favor? I don't want to be hyper technical. Therefore, list out how does I'm being very consumer centric and consumer specific in terms of answering my query. I'm not answering in terms of how the builders have become accountable, what is it that they are required to do. I'm answering specifically from the point of the consumer. Because the industry survives because of the consumer. It is because the consumer buys. It is because you have a market available that encourages the builders to venture into this sector. There is money to be made, and that money which is to be made is through the consumers. And therefore, if they were to use the marketing term, consumer is God. Therefore, the consumer has gained a lot. One, there is all material available to you regarding a project before you invest. There is an accountability which is available to you before you invest. There are websites which are available. In case of Maharashtra, you have Maharera website where the project is required to be registered. And with that, you have a lot of details which are available. Please verify those details. And it is only if you are satisfied with it, then invest. Permissions and approvals. Earlier, it used to be completely dark. I mean, I've heard stories about the fact that where reputed builders, people have invested lots of money. They go to meet them. A chit is set inside. The man is sitting inside. He doesn't permit that investor to come in. 4 hours, 6 hours, and the investor has to go back with no remedy. Those days are over. And therefore, here, consumer is the king. But I must also say that once the consumers are realizing that they are king, they are also using this for nefarious purposes of targeting the projects. You have a business where there are bound to be problems. You have projects which are bound to have difficulties. And when I say difficulty, I mean to say bona fide difficulties. I'm not discussing difficulties which are maybe concocted by a builder for the purpose of buying time or for the purposes that the monies are diverted. I'm not discussing those. I'm discussing certain situations which are directly linked to permissions. And when I say permission, we've had situations where a project is sanctioned. It reaches a certain height. And the moment it reaches that certain height, then the neighborhood realizes that there is a problem. Because by that, it is overlooking the jail. And therefore, the prisoners of Arthur Road Jail have a sense of insecurity. The building has come to say 35 floors. It's an intended project of 90 floors. Suddenly, the administration wakes up. And the administration wants to stop it. And how do they stop it? They have granted you CC till 66 floors. They refuse you CC post 66. The project which is planned is 90. The common amenities, everything else which is on the table in terms of planning is for 90. But there is difficulty. But when those difficulties are pointed out, the law needs to be more compassionate to the developer as well. And that's the stage where a number of people have come and they have sought to claim a refund. And they have refused to look at a situation that the delays that have been happening are not linked to the builder's default. And therefore, a very pertinent challenge which is facing us is builders are accountable to pay interest. But if the builder is not in default, and if the administration is in default, aviation authorities are in default, MCGM is in default, or UD is in default, or any of the other authorities are in default, who bears for those consequences? And therefore, in legal parlance, force majeure. Normally, force majeure is always treated as an act of God, flood, earthquake, etc., etc. We've had situations where this has been argued that a circumstance which is beyond the control of a builder, how do you handle that? And therefore, this is an area which is squarely covered by your topic today, era after era. That RERA has come. Provisions of RERA have come. 5 years has happened. There is much that has happened. There are a lot of complaints. There are a lot of case laws. There is a lot that has happened. But now we are at an evolving stage to say that whether these people, these authorities, whether they also need to be made as stakeholders. Stakeholders, when I say, I don't say stakeholders in terms of profit. Stakeholder not in terms of gains. Stakeholder in terms of responsibility. And how do you synergize that? RERA doesn't provide for it. And it can't provide for it. Administration is governed by a separate set of laws, administrative laws and constitution. Municipal corporations are governed by a separate set of laws, MMC Act. Slum authorities governed by a separate set of rules and regulations. Tax implications, completely a separate issue. How does one blend that? And that's the topic that you have raised today, era after era. I'll say more when we come to the next question.
Sure. Thanks, Vaibhav.
Thanks, Vibhav. That was fairly detailed, and that has actually opened up a lot, many more avenues and perfectly set, a lot of thought processes in place. Over to you, Ram Prasad ji. Maharashtra has been leading in terms of numbers. Any which ways, Maharashtra contributes about 50% in terms of value to Indian real estate. And even in terms of numbers of projects which are registered or number of channel partners or brokers which are registered, Maharashtra, clearly leads the way over there. And you being part of an important association, NAR India, how has RERA changed things for, a channel partner, for a property broker, and how do you see things panning out in the near future?
Yeah, so first and foremost, I would like to point out that, when I was in the task force of RERA representing the real estate consultant side. One thing that hit us was Maharashtra is highest in terms of compliances. All over the country, close to 43,000 real estate consultants registered, out of which 27,000 realtors were from Maharashtra. So almost more than 50% of the entire country's realtors are from Maharashtra. Compliance is very high. Still, the Maharashtra chief at that point of time, Mr. Gautam Chatterjee, felt that this is a very low number. In fact, the compliance should be much higher, which is right. Today, what is happening is every Tom, Dick and Harry is a broker. There are no entry barriers to the broking business. But 4 years back, we were very happy. At least the organized realtors were very happy. Like my members from the Association of Real Estate Agents area, my members from NAR India, that yes, government has finally recognized a real estate consultant as a vital chain in the entire real estate business. Because before this, a real estate consultant was considered as a necessary evil, and there was no protection either to him or her, or you were not even a part of the the chain mechanism. So MAHRERA or RERA recognized that a real estate agent is an important part of the industry. He also needs to be regulated, or he or she needs to be regulated. That is number one. What has it brought in 4 years? If I want to summarize in like 5, one is professionalism. So not every real estate consultant who is doing a broking business in the primary market necessarily registered under RERA, because they did not want to get into compliance business. They did not want to be, regulated by the regulator. So many people have not, and they are, let me tell you, they are out of business. What they now do is they refer business to regulated real estate consultant. These are the people who are professional. A lot of professionalism has come because there is something called the roles and responsibilities that RERA has imposed on real estate agent, that you need to register, you need to keep a set of books there, you need to comply with everything that a developer is also complying. You cannot promise anything which a developer has not promised, on your side to be done. So all those compliances have come. So professional levels have gone up very high. Second is ethical practices. The real estate industry, whether be it the developer or the broking community, is not known for ethical practices, but thanks to RERA, it has come as a self-imposed. So ethical practices improved, accountability to the customer, accountability to the compliance regulator, and accountability even to the developer has increased. Somehow we've seen that in the last 4 years, the developer and the real estate agent have become a cohesive part of a marketing team where they collaborate with each other. So I agree that developers have their own marketing team, but they also realize that a channel partner is an important link which keeps getting them business day in, day out. So they have started a lot of collaboration where these developers are helping their channel partners become compliant, number one. Also make them aware that do not do anything which is not in compliance of the law. Do not get into the wrong lane. Do not, promise consumers what is not, given is to be given. Another thing that we would like to point out is at this point of time, one disadvantage that a real estate consultant has is RERA. Every state, if you're working in more than one state, you need to be registered in those states. So if I'm working in Gujarat, if I'm working in Delhi, I need to go and register everywhere. So the time has come, we at NAR India and the Association of Real Estate Agents been talking of one nation, one license. It should be the need of the hour, which we are already talking, because I don't see a chartered accountant getting multiple licenses to operate in 10 states. And trust me, brokers have become very, very professional. There are multi-city operators. Many of them, like me, we work in multi-city, multi-state. So one nation, one license is the need of the hour. One thing also that has come up, Harshul, is, this act is being misused by a lot of errant clients to settle score with a real estate consultant. It's happening with me. It's happened with a lot of other of my fellow associates where the clients have used it wrongly to include them in cases where we had no role, or we have not cheated, or we have not missed. So real estate consultants need to be very careful in a day-to-day business when they're doing this, to see that everything they're doing is on paper, on email or WhatsApp, wherever they're, and they don't leave a scope of misuse. And before that, you have to make sure that you're not misrepresenting any facts of any of the projects that you're dealing with. And last, but the most important point, because of RERA, education and training for real estate consultants have become top of the agenda for them. And for all the real estate associations across the country, we have more than 46 real estate city associations which are part of NAR India. So there the thrust is maximum on training real estate consultant and the staff how to be compliant of all these laws that are applicable to them, because in law, ignorance is never an excuse. So we need to know all the sections that affect us, all the sections we should be aware of. So these are the few points I would like to say in last 4 years, how the real estate community has been affected by RERA, which is mostly positive. I would say yes. And yes, a lot of fly-by-night operator brokers have been weeded out of the market, and trust me, in coming days, it will be that only the professional real estate consultants will be left in the market, and this market will still become more organized. Over to you, Arjun.
Thanks, Ram. Very, very insightful. And, I'm going to build up on those points that you've mentioned. At this point, I would, take Ajoy ji online as a very important senior stakeholder in the real estate sector. Ajoy ji, what are your views on the era post RERA? How has RERA transformed the real estate sector, and what are the challenges that you see? What are your views, Ajoy ji?
Yeah, a lot of it has already been said, and it's very, very positive for the buyer. It's literally, he is in a buyer's market really now with the RERA behind him. So let me give a little brief on RERA. So RERA is applicable to those areas which are plots which are over 500 square meters. So the consumer, if he's buying something which is less than 500 square meters, then RERA won't be applicable. Or if there are 8 flats at least, then RERA will be applicable. So the beneficial part is that whatever money the builder gets from loan or whatever his own, he has to keep it in a separate account. 70% of it has to be kept in a separate account, and that it has to be used for construction alone. So that is one very good thing. So there's no diversion of money to this project and that project, which is always the case earlier. Builders always used to make multiple projects and give emphasis to those which are more profitable, keeping the others in the lurch. So that's no longer happening. Then builder cannot ask for more than 10% of the property cost in advance. So there again, RERA is beneficial. No changes can be made by him without consent. So the consent is, here Vibhav has to guide me whether it is 50% or 2/3. Not quite sure. Vibhav, would you come in and tell us whether it's consent of 50% of the occupant?
Yes, 51%.
51. Okay.
For the modifications.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vibhav. Okay, then the carpet, he will always have his agreements and everything on carpet area basis. Earlier it used to be built up area, super built up area, super duper built up area. So many different terms were put forth to him, and he was many times I've seen. It's shocking, but a big oil company from Europe, very, very big oil company. The CFO was literally fooled by this built up area basis, and paying a huge amount for the rent he had taken in BKC, because he didn't have any idea of that concept. Then if there's a delay, he can ask for refund, and the refund will be with an interest which is 2% over and above the SBI rate, or it is the same interest at which he's paying his EMI. So there again, there is justice. Also, if there is any defect in the premises, in the construction, then if within 1 year, if he notifies the builder has to rectify it within 30 days. So that's a huge benefit, because you know that almost every building in Bombay leaks during the rains. So that is a very good thing. Then he has a grievance addressal mechanism, which is pointed out by Vibhav so lucidly. Then there is a right to information about the property, whether how it is being executed, what is the stage-wise progress. He has a right to know the current status. The buyer can complain, of course, if there's any violation, and he can go to the RERA authorities. And as Vibha pointed out, the MahaRERA site is there, which is, I'll give it to you later, maybe in the chat box. You can visit that site and fill in the form. Then it'll be heard, and if the decision is not acceptable to the buyer, then he can go and appeal. There are very strict penalties. So if the developer doesn't obey the RERA decision, or he gives false information, then up to 5% of the cost of the property will be the penalty. When he goes into appeal and the tribunal gives an order, and if the builder doesn't follow the order, then there's a penalty up to 10% of the property cost, or imprisonment up to 3 years. There is penalty on the agents as well, as rightly pointed out by Ram Prasad, and his concerns are very valid, because I think some couple of brokers have been jailed along with the builder. So like he said, all the papers must be in order. So this RERA has put a very rigid discipline on all the stage players of the building line, all of us, including even the buyer. If he violates, then builder can go to RERA against him. So it's fairly equitable for all, I would imagine. So all I can tell is the buyer should not invest in a project which is not registered under RERA, and there'll be a RERA number. And as pointed out earlier by one of the panelists, you can go to the website and see all the details. Most of the states have RERA. So, and Bombay is leading. Now, how to go to the, for the complaint, you can go log on to the state's website, which is maharera.mahaonline.gov.in. It's maharera.mahaonline.gov.in. You can click on the registered projects, then you choose advanced search and enter your developer's name or the area. So you'll come across. A word of caution, RERA is not applicable on rented premises. Also, if you just have an MOU with the builder, the buyer can still go to RERA. It not be a registered agreement. As per RERA, the builder has to form a cooperative housing society within 2 months from the OC, which is occupation certificate, or 60% possession taken. If the 60% possession been taken, then the cooperative society has to be formed. I'll give you a little statistics. 31,000 promoters have been registered in Mumbai, in Maharashtra. 31,000 applied for registration, and all but 500 were granted registration. 32,000 agents have been registered. 7,200 projects have been completed. 15,600 complaints have been received, out of which 10,084 orders have been passed. Then matters which go to the conciliation forum, 702 have been completed out of 776. So as you can see, it's very, very highly effective. I guess for the moment, this is all I can say. And if there's any further questions, I'm open. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajay Kanji. That was extremely insightful, about what projects qualify under RERA, which do not, and what are the next steps around lodging a complaint. At this point, I would bring you in, Ashok ji. There is always a question that is RERA only for a residential project? So can a warehousing project, an industrial project, or as someone in the chat box has mentioned, NA land or an open land, and nowadays you have a lot of these weekend home projects, villa projects coming up. So are they all, do they all come under RERA, or is it only for residential?
Yeah, so friends, I mean, pertinent question. 100% all projects, maybe warehousing, maybe industry, maybe commercial, maybe any kind of property which involves a seller and a buyer are governed by the act. This act came up in 2016, and it's been, I mean, a very fair and very level playing field, as I said earlier, for everyone. Yes, initially, I tell you, the Rajya Sabha, when they were formulating the act, they had a resolution in mind. But as things went on, there were a lot of input from the industry, and therefore everybody, every kind of property has been covered by RERA. So whether you buy an office, you buy a warehouse, you buy anything, you are definitely covered. So I mean, a buyer is in a very comfort zone once it comes to purchasing any kind of property. Yes, as Ajay Khan said, it doesn't apply to leasing or rental properties, but otherwise it has a very vast gambit.
So actually, Vibhav made a very valid point that, while RERA looks to pin down on the developer, saying that, you've not delivered on time, but there is absolutely no talk about the approvals, about regulations, and especially more so in a city like Mumbai, where you have virtually every 2 kilometers, you have another authority working on a project. Flamingo is not implemented, you have a notification which stops work across the city. The corporation does not work upon solid waste management. Real estate is the favorite target, even for the courts to stop work for. But however, your liability under RERA does not go away. And, there has always been an ask from even the associations that, Real Estate Regulation Act should bring the approval authorities also in its ambit. What are your views, and what is the progress on that so far, and how is the reception around this, Ashokji?
Yeah, so true, Harshul. I mean, we are always the sitting ducks when it comes to prosecution, when it comes to any kind of enactment of law, enforcing law. So it's very true that despite the developers having done their very best, put in the very best to get approvals to execute the project on time, but we are somehow barred by various government authorities. It's not the approving authority, it's the civil aviation, it could be the defense, it could be Flamingo, it could be environment, it could be so many. Everybody takes the free hand and throws it on us. So we have represented to the UD. We met Honorable Mr. Eknath Shinde as well as the Honorary Secretary Bhushan Gagrani. We had couple of meetings as NAREDCO representation that this is not fair to us. They have definitely empathized with us. They are cognizant of this matter, working on it. Okay, but somehow we haven't seen the final result because the defense is not being cooperative. I'm making an open statement in such a forum that they are taking their own sweet time to respond to the UD. So this is a major challenge. We've been asking for one window clearance. It hasn't happened as yet. Okay, we've been asking for commencement certificates to be given certified by an architect. At least let us start the work. Because ultimately, Harshul, we have to get further commencement certificate or occupant certificate. At that time, corporation has got every free will to come and check if we have made any blunder and stop our work. But no, they want you to run to pillar to post to get commencement certificate at various levels. So this not only increases the cost, but also delays the project. So this is something which, as an industry, I would want support from even the legal fraternity, from Vibhav and everybody and yourself, that we have to work towards, since we are all transparent, then you also be equally transparent. Now, I'll tell you, I'm doing a project right now at Virar. I'm right now also stationed at Virar when I'm speaking to you. Okay. I'm doing a layout of 43 buildings there. There is no electricity, there's no water, there's no occupation certificate. Why? Because my predecessor in title, from whom I purchased, whom I got development rights, has not got the environment clearance renewed. Now he is not able to do it. He is not right now present. what are the reasons? Maybe he has defaulted. Okay, he's gone into liquidation, but we are suffering. There are, I mean, over 10,000 buyers who are suffering in this layout. So there has to be something to be done, where the government should take cognizance. I remember in one case when one of the buyers had filed a complaint against me asking for occupation certificate in Viral. So there, the past chairman, Mr. Gautam Chatterjee, he called the corporation, he called the director from the corporation, he called the developer also. Okay, let me name it. I have no qualm naming it. It was HDIL. He called them and said that this occupation certificate should be processed. Of course, it takes its own sweet time. It's not so simple. Okay, but yes, RERA has got the authority, must implement that authority, must ensure that we also are looked upon as law-abiding developers. Okay, we are nation builders. We should be granted our permissions in time. Or there could be a deeming provision, of course, which is there, but really doesn't work well, the deeming provision. But we need to have some sort of a balanced enactment wherein the developers also are taken care of, because you are not taking care of developers, you are taking care of buyers ultimately. If you get your occupation certificate on time, if you come at the time, the buyer is going to get a possession. Why are you delaying the occupation certificate? Again, I'm telling you that in the same layout, we don't have electricity connection. We don't have water. So what is our fault by you not giving us electric connection? We have paid all the charges to the corporation, we pay all the charges to MSEB. So this is where we are suffering. So here is where I would, want a collective, representation to the government. It has to be done at the national level. It cannot be done only at MahaRERA. That there should be some sort of enactment which protects the developer, and in turn, the buyer also gets comfort that way. Yeah, thank you.
See, it's what a wonderful point, actually. If you are going to ensure that a law-abiding developer is protected, you're going to protect hundreds of consumers. So at the end of the day, the objective of RERA is to protect the consumers. So all rightful steps to ensure that should be taken. At this point, I would want to bring Vaibhavji, let us critically also look at RERA. I mean, we've looked at the positives, we looked at all the boons, but it's often criticized as a toothless tiger. It's also criticized as an authority where the orders do not have value. Constantly every order is gone into for appeal, and eventually, any which ways, even after going to RERA, people do end up in the courts. So again, the expenses for an average consumer to go to the High Court and fight the might of the big developer who has a fancy legal team and take the matter up right till the Supreme Court. So keeping all of these perspectives or bias or misinformation or right information what the consumers have about RERA and its the tenacity of the orders that are passed by RERA. What is your take? You did mention briefly about consumers going to collectors, but however often those orders are challenged and they go in appeal. So what would be your advice to the average consumer who dreads these high legal costs and which actually defeats the purpose for which RERA was actually brought into practice? Over to you, Vaibhavji.
Your question is extremely complicated. And the answer to that is not a straightforward answer. But it has to be a layered answer to be understood in the background of what problems we faced before RERA came in. And what happens after RERA has come. Because as I said, that law is a very evolving process. As you keep pointing out the difficulties, so does the legislature, which in this case is the government, come out, as Ashok ji was saying, ease of business. Therefore, Ashok ji and the team goes, makes a presentation, and the respective governments or the central government looks at it and has a power to amend or has a power to issue circulars to clarify. RERA has come into play in 2017, 1st May 2017. The judicial hierarchy and the notion about litigation has existed prior to that. The perception that where the process of law is very long time taking, or the perception that where it is very expensive, or the fact that where it's something which is beyond the reach of common man, has existed before RERA came in. And in a very lighter vein, a lot of films said Tariq pe Tariq, which we as lawyers are thrown even today. When you try to mark a docket, they say Tariq pe Tariq. So what RERA does here is that it tries to address that problem. How does it do it? One, it says anybody, if you the client, or if you any other chartered accountant, or you a XYZ individual, not only a lawyer, you are permitted to come and appear. You are permitted to file and you are permitted to appear. Therefore, what is the attempt? The attempt is to make it inexpensive, easily accessible, coupled with the fact that where attempt is being made, that where the matters get disposed of in 4 or 6 hearings. And in that regard, recently, MahaRERA has issued a lot of standard forms in terms of pleading, admission, etc., so that, and a circular to say, you can't come and seek adjournments. You have to come and be ready to argue. You can't be saying that my lawyer is not there, which is a very standard system. So RERA is very progressive. RERA is trying to get over a difficulty of access to legal system in terms of time and in terms of money. So here, 5,000 is your initial payment of fee. After that, it's completely your baby with no personality issues being there, because here it's not that Mr. XYZ lawyer who's a reputed lawyer can only make an impression, because here the forms are so standard. You're required to give those information in those forms and you are done. You are required to annex the exhibits to it. Then the member or the chairman labors to see what is the facts of your case. And then it is not subjected to the other side trying to controvert your contention by saying, no, this is denied and this is etc., etc. Therefore, first answer to your layered question, RERA is very progressive in terms of making it a very consumer-friendly forum. 2, the contemporaneous adoption which it has done here is that initially when RERA came, it was being perceived to be restricted to buildings, flats, etc. Clarifications have come to say that except agricultural land and except industrial plots and industrial constructions, everything under the sun falls under RERA. I'm answering this in a contemporaneous situation. Every day in the Times of India, first page advertisement is of a reputed builder who's selling land. We are used to seeing advertisements to say project ready, occupation, etc. He is selling land. And therefore, I am answering you that he also falls under RERA. It's an any land. And therefore, any land also falls under RERA. Any purchaser of, or a consumer who's purchased those plots, if they have a problem in terms of a standard transaction, they have an entitlement to go to court. Third part is that, as I said, the law is an evolving process. Just prior to notification of RERA, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code was promulgated, 2016. And that the builders were affected because a number of builders were companies. And as soon as IBC was notified, then the NCLT, which was formed by under IBC, was full with claims of flat owners. For almost 2 years, the entire board, entire list of NCLT was clogged with claims of purchasers of flats. So they had two remedies available at that time: people who could go to RERA and people who could go to NCLT. Law evolved again, and then IBC was modified, and a circular came by to say that, look, IBC is not a forum for every claim of a flat purchaser against a company. Now, what that does here is, it creates a conflict. It creates a class discrimination in terms of who can go to RERA, and 10% of more of flat purchasers, if they come together, they can go to NCLT. Why I'm answering you this is that in law itself, there is contradiction. And the people who are given responsibility of giving those judgments, if they are authorities supposing under IBC, or if this is an authority under RERA, when you show them this law, they are not empowered, or they don't have an authority to make a comment on another law which is available on the same subject. Now, why this? Because this creates a lot of mischief. This creates a lot of mischief that anybody who wants to avoid compliance would go and obtain an order and then come to RERA and say, look, I'm protected by this order, therefore hold your hands. But despite all this, RERA is a tiger. RERA is not a paper tiger, because they have made the law so simple by saying it is not a matter of interpretation of law. RERA is a matter of applying the law. I hope I'm being clear in terms of that nobody is permitted to interpret it. If a consumer goes and says, as per this section, this is what was contemplated and this has not been done by the builder, then the builder has no defense. The authorities ask him a very simple question: have you or have you not? Therefore, the moment that happens, then you are taking out the detailed argument, the detailed pleadings, replies, etc. out of the purview. And therefore, you are in a position that in 4 hearings or 6 hearings, your matter is over. And if that hearings are, you are lucky enough, if those hearings happen every week, then in a matter of 1.5 months to 2 months, you have an order. And when I say you have an order, because this is a case of applying the law, applying the facts of your case to the law, you are invariably the winner. The consumer is a winner. Consumer comes to court to say for primarily three things. One, in case there is no agreement, a direction to the builder to execute and register my agreement. So therefore, you have an answer in 2 months. The consumer comes with a relief to say, money paid in XYZ year, which is 8 years, 10 years ago, the possession nowhere in sight. I want to continue in the project, ask him to pay. RERA says, all right, your claim is justified. We are granting you an order of interest, but we are also balancing the equity for the builder. We are not saying that where he'll pay you now. He'll pay you, till he pays you, he has to pay interest, but let him complete the project. Therefore, priority is being given to completion of a project. Very important. Otherwise, initially, in the initial days of RERA, everybody was in court to say, builder has delayed, direct him to pay interest. And give me priority in terms of payment of interest. Third part, that if the consumer, after being there, realizes that where I don't want to be a part of this project, then he goes to court and say, look, I am withdrawing from the project, and therefore let this be recorded. I want to withdraw, direct them to refund, and with refund, ask them to pay me interest. So that there is a cost to the money which I gave to the builder, which he has used and utilized for X many years. Tell me something. Where do you find a situation where a consumer with these problems, which he wants to say are big problems, finds an answer or an order in a matter of 2 months, 3 months, 4 months? Therefore, RERA is a tiger. And the manner in which RERA goes is that where you exhaust your remedy at the stage of a complaint, the builder has to go and file an appeal. If the consumer has to file an appeal, there is no requirement of deposit. But if the builder has to go to file an appeal, the section says anywhere between above 30%. But I have had situations where my clients as builders were directed to pay as much as 100%. The moment a builder sees a risk that I am required to pay 100% to fight an appeal, he immediately runs to the consumer and says, let's solve it. So what are we looking at? Solution of a matter in a matter of 6 months. Who do we owe it to? RERA. Three, you may have situations where, for whatever reason, I'm not getting into it, the builder refuses to comply with an order. He can't go scot-free. There are deterrents. The order for payment is enforced like a claim for money, like in areas of land revenue. And therefore, coercive actions are taken. Very elementary coercive action is your bank account is frozen. The moment that happens, that becomes one more issue for the builder to run to the consumer and say, look, let's solve this. And then it becomes a matter of negotiation to resolve a problem. Who do we owe it to? RERA. Invariably, after the appeal stage is crossed and we are getting into a stage of high court or in a second appeal, or to High Court in a writ petition or to the Supreme Court, the scope which the law provides is very, very limited. Very, very limited. And the law is completely in favor of a consumer. Therefore, RERA is not a paper tiger. It's a very well thought out piece of legislation, which has in fact changed the manner in which people perceive real estate. I can keep going on and on, but let's move to the next question.
That was extremely insightful, Vaibhav. At this point, I would bring in Ajay Kaunji. Recently, there has been humongous response to residential real estate sales. However, the perception is that, most of which is near completion or ready to move in. Do you think in this era post-RERA, consumer has enough confidence to buy an under construction project? Is he confident enough to put his hard-earned money, take 4x leverage, put his life savings and book a flat in under construction? And I'm also gonna invite Ram to take this question, since you have the pulse, with the consumers. So over to you first, Ajay ji. What's the pulse? What's the trend? And is our consumer feeling secured enough? Oh, okay. Ram, you could take this first up.
Yeah. So first and foremost, yes, there has been inherent demand for RT, we call it ready to move properties, because consumer still has not got the full confidence that even the top developers brand will, deliver on time. Now, as my distinguished panelists all pointed out, one big problem with delayed possession is not only on account of developers themselves. Previously, it used to be, developer is the only devil who's not giving possession, probably because of funding issue, title issue. But now we see that a lot of projects have been delayed solely because of so many government permissions that they need. Can you imagine a project having commencement and suddenly the government says, or the municipal corporation says, you cannot make that building further. So it is of two hands or three hands of government not knowing who is doing what. So the consumer, and sometimes I also think a lot from the consumer perspective, is thinking that even if it's a top brand name, even if the land is a clear title corporate land and everything in place, there can be some amount of uncertainty that can come when it comes to possession, So ready to move in moves faster in this market. Having said that, yes, consumer confidence has gone up high post-RERA, and they trust this top developers. So I would say the A category, the B category developers, they trust that, even if it's with a delay. So when we as consultants deal with these projects, we try to tell the consumer, please buffer in a 3 months or a 6 months over and above what you're told, because these are compliance related. OC can take some time. There is something new that can come up in terms of defense and all those things. So AB category developers projects are not affected, but the developers who are not so reputed are having a problem selling under construction projects. It's a very uphill task for channel partner also to push these projects, and I know a lot of my community real estate consultants don't really prefer to deal with these category of developers where the confidence is low. Now, this is because many times these developers have done something in the past that these projects were not, his past projects were not delivered on time. So what I see is ready to move is moving fantastic. In fact, we as consultants are facing a crunch of good quality inventory in the last 6 months because the market is picked up. And category A, category B developers doing great because now consumer is wiser thanks to all information available on MahaRERA website. Consumer has done already the research before even they come to the consultant or the developer and knows a lot of the thing. Here is where the consultant's true work comes, he adds value to the already wise consultant, telling him the nuances of the industry. And since he has already done a lot of transaction, he is wiser with those transactions of what are the inside view. So we are seeing a lot of traction in even the under construction. Harshal.
Thanks, Ram. That was
Yeah.
insightful. At this point, I would bring in Ashok ji. Ashok ji, RERA has always taken an approach of conciliation and, as a alternate dispute resolution process. So instead of the consumer hitting in directly to RERA and then media stepping in and the whole project going for a toss, so there has always been an effort to have a conciliation, and NAREDCO as an association, CREDAI MCHI, BAI being the self-regulatory organization, they've taken initiatives. So could you throw some light upon these initiatives which have been taken up by your association, and what do we expect from consumer perspective? What's in it for them? And how has this panned out? What is the success of the entirety?
Yeah, so Harshal, this had been a very positive move. It was about almost 3 years back that we had approached the then chairman for this to bring in conciliation. So we had meetings with the Mumbai Grahak Panchayat as well as the developed community, so that there should be a balance, equitable balance between representing the purchaser as well as the developers. The MGP as well as the representative of the developer, they both understand the pain, a consumer might be going through. It's also very cost-effective conciliation because you have to pay about 1,000 rupees instead of 5,000, and the results are much more quicker and to the satisfaction of the buyer. We have seen over 90% success rate as far as conciliation is concerned. What happens, friends, is that the buyer usually doesn't get to meet, the management or the promoter, and he's put in his hard-earned money to buy this property. He has his grievances, I mean, it's very normal to have a grievance because of delay, etc. But he also wants his house, you see. So when he is ready to buy, to take possession of the house, and it's only a delay because of various mitigating circumstances beyond the control of the developer, okay, that is the time when things work out very fruitful for the buyer as well as the developers. So the conciliators, they've spent a lot of time. I've seen, every conciliation goes on for about 45 minutes to 1 hour, where the conciliators, they, try and absorb, try and understand what the buyer's pain is. And then they usually, the conciliators would discourage, with due respect, lawyers from coming in, because it's something which one-to-one settlement can happen. Of course, now lawyers are permitted where there are referred conciliations, but earlier when they opted for conciliation, then it was just one-to-one. It gives a feeling of comfort to the buyer also, that he's able to talk to the promoter, okay? And the promoter also understands the pain when he's actually meeting the buyer. This is the reason why there is so much of success, because the promoter puts himself in the buyer's place. There is a lot of empathy, and vice versa. Even the buyer also tries and understands what pain the developer has gone through and why the project has been delayed. The intentions are good of the developer, and therefore things work out well. There could be extreme cases. There are always exceptions to the rule where the developer is not able to perform for certain reasons, and then he wants to opt out. The buyer wants to opt out. For that reason, the conciliation is not the right forum. He has got the authority to ask for refund under Section 18. But when he's actually interested in his house and knows that his house is there, it's going to come, and a little bit of compensation, a little bit of give and take, it keeps, it happens between the buyer and the developer. And this ultimately, as I told you, having 90% success, ultimately, both of them, walk out with a smile is my personal view. So it's a very positive move, Harshul. And I mean, one should encourage, and even the authority, even today, the chairman does, before they take up the matter, they do ask the buyer as well as developers whether they would be interested in conciliation. If they say yes, both of them say yes, then it goes for conciliation. And it's a very great model, I feel. Yeah.
Absolutely. A lot of selfless hours put in by members of all the associations in trying to resolve the dispute, before it enters the RERA forum. And I think it has been fairly extremely positive in terms of its outcome and result. And I think this should be encouraged further up. So we have, we had run a question for surprise gift for, questions which were asked. And we have a winner over here is what the organizers tell me. The question I would ask Vaibhav ji, to address. However, the winner is Saidat Saman Gaukar, who is a realtor. And the question is, at times it is confusing whom to approach for quality related issues which are not addressed by the developer. Whether should we go to RERA or should we go to the consumer forum? Your opinion and guidance is solicited. So Vaibhavji, you could address the question which is asked by Saidat, and congratulations to you, Saidat. You would be getting a surprise gift from IBG.
Very, very interesting question, but the answer to that is not so simple. And therefore, I preface the answer by saying that where there is no hard and fast rule that when you have a problem like this, what do you do? Facts of each complaint help you to decide which forum the client must go. If it's an issue which is only pertaining to quality, then it is advisable to go to the consumer forum, because then it's a case of deficiency of service. And if you will go to RERA, then a question that will be asked of you here is, what is the RERA violation that you are complaining about? And in the background of the nature of complaints which keep coming to RERA, a complaint regarding quality, no doubt, can be entertained by RERA, but the larger and the bigger issues which the RERA is faced with is regarding registration of agreements, regarding handing over of possession, regarding claims being made by the lender under a subvention scheme, or regarding a advertisement which contained misstatements or incorrect informations. So then in terms of a intensity and a priority, complaint only of quality of work may not cut much ice. Therefore, in that situation, advisable to go to a consumer forum.
Nice. Yeah.
I think, fairly well explained. Yeah, fairly well explained about the scenarios. I mean, although we do have a defect liability period, which is instilled in the act, but there is always a choice, and it's not a straight-jacketed one. One has to consider various facts. So I think at this point, we had a very interesting discussion about the era post-RERA. Clearly, all the panelists, including me, univocally, we feel that RERA is here to stay. RERA has definitely made a difference. It has given confidence to a lot of developers to say, yes, we are RERA certified, and RERA is taking the guarantee and ensuring that you're going to get delivery on time, you're going to get a good quality product. There is going to be complete transparency of information, and at all point of time, with whichever stakeholder you are dealing with, RERA is here to protect you. With every law, as Vaibhavji rightfully said, it's an evolving process. So yes, there are certain points towards which we continuously work upon, and it happens with every law. Unfortunately, RERA adopted a lot of legacy issues. So when RERA came, it was that typical Sharmaji's son who had a lot of expectations from, and people thought that all the legacy issues, all the illness, panacea would be RERA, but that clearly was to expect too much from at the beginning. The legacy issues will also resolve. We've had special opportunity funds for stalled housing projects, which are resolving that. And hopefully in the coming years, and we've seen a judgment in West Bengal where it was clearly upheld by the Supreme Court that the act of RERA, which has been passed by the parliament, is here to stay. Over to you, Sangeet, for your thoughts and closing remarks and to take this forward.
Thank you very much. We had a very, very engaging and enlightening session. 90 minutes have gone, and unfortunately, we could not take up the questions. So on the chat box, I've put our email ID. We would be more than pleased to take your questions to our panelists offline, and we get an opportunity. We'll be answering all those questions. At this point of time, I will now request Vikasji, our president, for his closing remarks, and then Tahir for the vote of thanks. Vikasji.
Thank you very much. It's a very satisfying discussion. So I think this time was too less. We need a much larger time, a full day thing for this subject. And with these experts here, for a common man like me to try to understand what is happening. But anyway, this was really good. Very happy. Please keep on doing such things, Sangeet ji.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Tahir bhai.
At this point, Sangeet, we should congratulate Vikasji. Nazara Technologies becomes the first gaming company to list in India.
Absolutely.
Congratulations, sir, for the feed. It's amazing. We are proud of you.
Thank you.
What do you say?
No, fantastic. So before Tahir goes and he says a vote of thanks, I want a commitment from Vaibhav, from Ram, from Ashok, and you, Harshul, and Ajay, that can we have a one-day seminar, one-day kind of a conference, online, virtual, where we talk about RERA and we talk about anything else which pertains to real estate. Vaibhav.
Yes, of course.
Okay. सुप्रीम कोर्ट का क्या होगा आपका केस का फिर छुट्टी मारनी पड़ेगी आपको
छुट्टी वाले के दिन कर लो ना
नहीं अभी हम see we are on fire now. We got a fantastic, I've got so many questions. I've got some personal WhatsApp messages. It's very exciting. So I really would want to do what Vikasji has said that we should do.
So Sangeet, I can commit you one thing. I'll write a book on the era post RERA. So that's a commitment from my side to you.
बहुत किताब लिख ली भाई आपने. So anyway, on this note, I will now request architect Tahir to please offer the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Sangeet ji. And firstly, thank you everybody for a beautiful and insightful session. It was a lot of learning, I would say, and keep inspiring us and everybody. And thank you, Ashok ji. Thank you, Vaibhav ji, for very delightful explanation on each subject. It was absorbed very nicely for me, at least for the first time. Thank you, sir. And thank you, Ram Prasad ji. Thank you, Ajay Khan ji. And thank you everybody from IBG team and Sangeet ji, Meenal ji, everybody for a wonderful session. And let's keep rocking. And as said, Vikas sir, congratulations on your Nazara Technologies on behalf from all of us.
I would also like to thank our team who have been working at the back of the, with all the creatives which you are seeing, Siddhi and Girish for their support and excellent marketing. Social media marketing has been one of the best which I have been associated with, so many webinars. We've reached out through WhatsApp, through emailers. All our panelists have been, posting. Harshul has posted it across various groups. So it has been a joint effort of everybody here. And really thank you, each and everyone, for being a part. And Vibhav, special thanks for you for taking time out of your busy schedule and addressing all of us and giving us an insightful legal opinion. Thank you, Ashok ji, again, and thank you, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tahir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tahir. Thank you, Tahir.
We should also thank all the attendees for taking out
Yes,
time.
yes.
Such a success. So thank
Yes. And I have, as I said, all the attendees, we have our email ID. We would be more than happy. And Meenal will be coordinating now for getting the answers from, you are excited, right? What a panel we have. So now it's over to you, Meenal. I'll go take a break. I'm going to sleep tonight. And all yours, Meenal, you take over. So you can coordinate between the attendees' questions and our esteemed panelists.
Yes, certainly very happy to get your questions and get the answers. We all learn in the process. So thanks once again, everybody, all the distinguished panelists, IBG, starting from our founder, Mr. Vikash Mitasen.
Thank you, Meenal.
And in case, Vibhav or Ajay, and if Ashok is there, Ram, you would want to give your closing remarks. Ram?
Sorry, I got muted. And so first of all, congratulations IBG for taking this initiative. I think it was a much needed. All the distinguished panelists, Vibhorji and Ashok Bhai and me go a long time back, and Harshul, very insightful things that we got to learn today. And yes, RERA is here to stay. It's evolving. Practices are evolving, and even the consumer now knows that it's a very balanced act. So thank you everyone for bringing out all the points, and it's been an enormous learning from all you distinguished panelists. So thank you again, and thanks Sangeet for getting me here. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. I guess Ashok has logged out. So in case Vibhav is wanting to, I think he's also logged out. So I think we can sign off here, guys. Once again, thank each one of you for being a part. Thank you.
Thanks, Sangeet.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Harshul, for a fantastic job.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks. Great job, Sangeet.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're the real chairman of IBG vertical real estate.
Don't embarrass me, sir. You're embarrassing me now.
Okay.
I'm enjoying it. It's a passion, and I think it's a learning, like Meenal said, Ram said, it's a learning experience. The industry is going through changing times, so it's always better to be well informed. And what a way to get informed by interacting with such experts. Thank you very much. And Vikashji, we will take your command, your wish, and we will organize a one-day virtual event on real estate. And Harshul, I want you to be a part of that.
Always there. Always there.
Work on that.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much again. And again, each and everyone who has taken time and who has been a part of this event. Thank you for attending, and thank you very much.